My name is Mina Pas, and I come from Rabbit Hole Institute from Slovenia. Rabbit Hole Institute is a psychotherapeutic institute. We do psychotherapy and research, and we are very much focused on in preparation and integration of experiences in altered states of consciousness. I'm a medical doctor and an integrative psychotherapist by profession, and my main field of work is trauma therapy, which is very much connected with addiction therapy, which I also do, and this kind of integration of difficult psychedelic experiences. And of the 3 colleagues that are working in Rabbit Hole Institute, I'm focused most on people who undergo ayahuasca experiences in a different context. I will explain it to you later. So in 2015, we did a qualitative research. We included 41 participants. The inclusion criteria was minimum of 18 years of old and minimum of 1 experience with ayahuasca. The main goal of the research was to actually get to know better what is going on in Slovenia in terms of ayahuasca use. And I was personally most interested as a psychotherapist, what are the resemblance between the experience that people have with ayahuasca and with psychotherapeutic process. So I was interested in how to actually translate the process that goes on in altered states of consciousness in this specific ayahuasca context into the language that will be understandable to psychotherapists. Because what I see among my colleagues is that most of psychotherapists don't have any experience with altered states of consciousness, and they are kind of afraid about it. So when people come to therapy after a difficult psychedelic experience, the psychotherapist doesn't want to work with them because they are afraid, because there are drugs involved. I won't talk about psychiatry because you know that here it's even worse. So I really wanted to focus on that, to find some resemblance between the process that people undergo with ayahuasca and with psychotherapy. So we were focusing on different things. What was interesting is the thing that came out that was presented already before in one of the presentations, that all of the participants used, except one, they used ayahuasca in the ceremonial context. It was a different ceremonial context, but most of them used it like this. And most of them decided to use ayahuasca in the therapeutic purpose, and in the purpose of personal growth. Just 2 of them were using ayahuasca out of curiosity or just to get another experience with the mind-altering substance. So 39 people included in our study were using ayahuasca for therapeutic purposes. The changes that were observed in the people were mostly this stated above. With behavioral changes, they stated mostly dietary changes, changes in substance abuse and healthier lifestyle. They described better emotional regulation, more empathy. They described a lot of changes in relationship, in general improvement of relationships, insight from the perspective from the other, and insight in transgenerational patterns from the family. And they described a lot of changes in the body, weight loss, improvement in physical illness, some of them, and less fatigue. And this is one of the extracts taken from our study, which I think is really important. 3 participants from our study decided to use ayahuasca as a last tool. They were very suicidal. This is the quotation of one of them. So I think that of all, if there are people who really give up hope from life and they decided to use ayahuasca as a last resort, and actually it helps them, I think there shouldn't be any question about, in a professional field of mental health, whether to discuss this as a potential treatment or not. But there were also a lot of challenging experience people were describing. So I think this quotation, you have to go into shit to be able to take it out, is like one of the best short quotations of how ayahuasca really works. What is interesting is that ayahuasca really takes you very deep. In our Western understanding of the therapy, it takes the person outside the window of tolerance. So if we take it from a context of therapy where the people should always be in the limits of their tolerance window in order to the experience to be therapeutic, a lot of the experiences in altered states of consciousness and a lot of experiences with ayahuasca can be considered re-traumatizing. Some of them are, but most of them are not. So I was asking the question of myself, what really makes the experience therapeutic? People go into really deep processes. They experience a lot of pain, a lot of emotional release. So from the outside, it looks like the experience should be re-traumatizing, but it's not. It's actually very healing. So one of the things that really stood out from the sayings of the people included in the research was the sense of holding and safety, which is the basic premise of the therapeutic context also. The therapist has to be the one to ensure the safe therapeutic context in which therapy can take place. And the people were really stating out that they felt safe all the time. Also, when the experience were very challenging, only one of the participants didn't feel safe and had a lot of problems with integration of experience. This was one of particular guy. He's gay, and he went to the ceremony where he heard the helpers talking behind his back that gay people shouldn't be allowed to go into the ceremony as sacred as ayahuasca, and this was before he drank ayahuasca for the first time. He had a very difficult experience, and actually the people who were, talking about him behind his back were kind of helping him in the experience, and it really worsened the things for him. So we had to do quite some integration afterwards, but he was okay. So in his case, you could really see what really participated into him having a difficult experience and a traumatizing experience with ayahuasca. So the people were really stating that they need to have the trust in the leader of the ceremony, in helpers, trust in yourself, trust in the plant. And the ceremony itself really, people reported that the ceremony really provided them a safe space to go deeper. So there are a lot of parallels with safe therapeutic contexts. So as a trauma therapist, I saw a lot of correlation in the processes that people go in. They're really correlated with trauma therapy. For example, some of the participants really stated out how ayahuasca on a first ceremony prepared, the safe space, really gave them a safe base. And then on the second ceremony, they really went deep into trauma reprocessing, and it was really strong. And then the third ceremony kind of wrapped everything up and concluded everything in a positive way. So it's really a lot of similarities in working with the trauma, and it was really interesting for me to see this, that even the people who didn't have any experience with previous therapy, with the conventional psychotherapy, described these processes which really go totally into a theory of trauma therapy. Integration. There's a lot of talk going on about integration. I do a lot of integration with people after difficult psychedelic experience, and these are my observations that I will share with you. These are not some scientific data, but just my observation from my practice. I feel that there are some differences between doing an integration processes with people who had experience with ayahuasca or with other psychoactive substances. With ayahuasca, there is more, I don't know, there is more, maybe a little more support or more meaning behind it, but maybe it's also because I work a lot with ayahuasca, I work a lot with people going to ayahuasca experience, and I'm more familiar with this place. So my experience is that it really works well when people are supported before and after their experience. I had quite some experience with people who are having quite difficult psychological problems, addictions, eating disorders, heavy abuse in childhood, mental disorders in the family, and were very afraid that they will experience this in ayahuasca. So we did a lot, we did some preparation therapy sessions. I usually have a way of working that I go with people also to the ceremonies. I work with a collaboration with a practitioner who is leading the ceremonies. So I go with people there as a support. I also drink ayahuasca there. So I'm there as a participant and as a therapist or a supporter. And it really turns out very well that I actually share the ayahuasca space with people when they go in, and I can support them afterwards. So even if they have difficult experiences, they say it's very, very useful for them to be there, that I'm there, that they know me from before, that I know their process, so I'm there as a support, and also afterwards for the integration sessions if they are needed. So the people in our study mainly stated that integration goes on by itself. Usually the integration happens during the ceremony or just after the ceremony, and most of the people really don't need any help in integrating the experiences, even if they're quite difficult. But some of them do need it. And I think it's very important that some of the people also stated that they would need the integration with the therapist that have understanding of altered states of consciousness. So they really feel that they don't want to go to just any therapist or psychiatrist with the processes they are into, that they need to integrate this process with the therapist who's familiar with altered states of consciousness. And I think it's very important for the therapist to get to know the processes in altered states of consciousness better in order to support the people better. But it's not to make it obligatory, just for the people to know that if they have some difficulties, they can go to a professional that can support them in this. So, and I think it's very important that the purpose, that this was also stated before in one of the talks, that it's very important to bring the experiences we learn there with the help of psychoactive active plants, that we bring them to this life, that they don't stay just there. And this is the purpose of the integration. And I think it's really good that ayahuasca and other plants are getting more and more spread, and more and more people are using them. But there are also some difficulties in how to translate or transcribe this experience that is very different from the experiences we know into our everyday life. Sometimes the opening of traumatic memories can be really hard. I'm currently working with a woman who got in contact with an early sexual abuse during the ayahuasca ceremony. She wasn't aware of it before. And she came to therapy after 1 year of struggling with this opening up of the wound. And it's very difficult for her to be with it. So sometimes altered states of consciousness or ayahuasca really opens up things that in a process that seems quite violent to our spoiled and soft Western state of mind. So I think that we have still a lot to learn about how to not to judge too soon that this is too much or this was re-traumatizing, because, for example, this woman, in a context of a conventional therapy, was traumatized during the ceremony. But after just 2 integration sessions, she's really feeling much better, and I think that she's on a way, to a real healing. And I think it's important that we as therapists stay humble. And I work in this field for a long time already, and the longer I work, the less I know. So I think it's very, very important to stay humble and open. So thank you.